for a couple of folks. Let's see, 1, 2, 3.
You're muted, Dr. Mike.
I know he was
Yeah,
talking
no, I was
to
just
me.
asking.
He was
I was
talking to me in
asking
real
Rose
life.
to check
Oh,
check
sorry.
in to see if Monique is joining us this morning as well. But we'll get started, everyone. Good to see all of you guys via the virtual space. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of a chat shortly. Maybe we can organize so that some of these can be in person. I know it's a lot easier to get us all together on a Zoom, but if we can, maybe perhaps we can make a decision as a collective to do some of these where we can get together in person. That would be terrific. So a lot to do today. First one of the year is always chock full of stuff. And we will, without further ado, we'll kind of get going. I know the past 2 meetings we have not had quorum. We did meet though, and had a little bit of a chat around, where we're going. We're going to revisit some of those things today. We do have to identify who will serve as the chairperson for the committee. We'll go through the bylaws. I know that we did share those in previous meetings. We'll have an opportunity to go through the bylaws today. Identify who the chairperson will be for the team. And then I will go through my report and all of the other things we have to get to from each of our constituents. So welcome. I am going to get started today with our bylaws. I'm just going to pop them up just so that everyone has them. Guys, can we go over minutes when we actually haven't had quorum over the last 2 months? We can't really approve them, can we?
No, you have to
No.
approve them with quorum.
Even though the folks that were here, we're not on?
Yes, as long as
Okay.
the quorum, it's the quorum membership.
Okay, cool. So I will post up the minutes for you guys to have access to. I'll put them into the chat.
So we have to go over July and August, right?
Correct, yeah. So we'll do one at a time. I'll put in the July minutes into the chat. And then I will share them with everyone on the screen.
There's a update already. July, I was already the one on the meeting, not Wendy.
Okay.
Oh, you're going back to, actually, these are June, so.
Oh, no, those shouldn't be the ones.
I think the date on the top is like the meeting we would have looked at it. So
yeah, I have to go to August and then hold on. Sorry, 1 second, guys. To go to August. Oh, yeah, where are they? Okay, we'll start with last month's. And then I have to locate the other one. Okay, guys, can we come to consensus on our August minutes? Thank you, Eden. Anyone else? We good? I know many of you were not able to join us as it was during the summer. But everyone else okay with the minutes as they're written?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Thanks, Rob. Okay, perfect. So our August minutes are good. We will get up our July ones momentarily. Just quickly stop share. Okay, guys, I will find our July minutes. It doesn't seem to be in the folder for some reason. I will get them up and we'll post those before the end of the session. But we'll bring this meeting to order. And I think the first order of business will be just to identify who will kind of serve in that chairperson role. Do we have any takers? As you know, in the past, I have absolutely no problem doing it, but should there be any of you that are interested in serving as the chairperson for the DLT, which would involve making sure that we're getting our minutes together, getting the DLT agenda together, and so on, please feel free to share that out now so that we can identify who will do it. Any takers? Deafening silence, as they say.
Who would be the liaison for the minutes and the agenda? Is there someone who basically handles that as far as like preparing them?
So Janet takes care of organizing based on the video that the recording that we have.
And is the agenda something that's set in advance of the next meeting, or is it something that would have to be created?
Yeah, no, it would have to be created with the team. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, I have no problem doing it. If there's anyone else that would like to, by all means, let me know. Any takers? Okay, are we good with me carrying on in this role? Because I'd be happy to do it for you guys and for the team. Okay. Then I will continue to assume the chairperson role. If at any time someone really is so dying and desperate to have this duty of serving as chairperson, by all means, let me know. But we will continue as we have with DLT, and we'll make sure that we have all the minutes, agenda, and everything out to you guys on the regular, so that we're ready to go for future meetings. Something that I do want to begin with is just to introduce Umit Saran as our Deputy Superintendent for District 25. I do welcome Mr. Saran. He's going to bring an awful lot to the district team in terms of his knowledge of organizing information to support schools and his ability to create systems and structures. So really super excited for Umit to be joining us. Umit, you want to just give a quick little hello so everyone knows who you are?
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be a part of this beautiful family. I'm so excited about the work ahead of us. We're here together to support our schools and our principals and our community. And I cannot wait to be working with you, the district school leadership, the district leadership team, to make things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saran. So just to quickly go through our agenda, last session we kind of connected just on the things that were exciting, and I would love to include this during every one of our meetings, just a space to quickly connect around the work. I was able to do this during the CEC, heard some really nice things from our parents and our student Shirley, who really said such a lovely intro to it. She just talked about wanting to be the best person that she can be. And I thought that was really, really a nice thing coming from a senior in high school with the mindset of just trying to be better as a person and student. So I thought it was just a really nice entry. So I'd love for all of you guys just to take a moment of pause and really reflect on what some of those hopes they are for you as a parent or constituent, excuse me, or team member, excuse me.
I could share, Dr. Mike, a little bit about what I
Yeah,
said
please.
at our
Yeah.
CAC meeting. So
Yeah, please.
as Dr. Mike knows, my son actually transitioned over to private school last week. So for me this year, I'm really looking forward to my daughter as a third grader coming out on her own, to not be just the little sister of her fifth grade big brother, and that she's really able to grow as a person and get that confidence that she could do anything she wants to do, and that she can succeed in everything. And that on the other side, my son really is happy with the decision that he made, because this was something he really asked for.
Love it. Anyone else want to say more, just a little bit about their hopes?
This is Rachel. I can share.
Yeah, Rachel.
One of my hopes for the coming school year is to keep my children in full attendance and to keep them engaged. So far, my 8th grader has stated that he wants to do everything possible for any schools in any high schools to get into them. He's motivated to not miss any assignments. My 3rd grader, who was dreading multiplication since she's been in 1st grade, has started that journey and has said that she loves arrays, which
Oh, yeah, nice.
made her math teacher extremely happy to hear that. So I just want to keep my children and all the children that I am a parent leader for engaged and enjoying school.
Love that. Thank you for that, Rachel. Anyone else?
Mike, you shared some of these comments at the principals meeting, and the one that stood out that a lot of people actually got choked up on, and I actually shared it with some friends of mine, and they got choked up on, was one parent simply stated, "I hope she makes a friend." And you know, as a parent, I feel that, because when it comes to academics, we could help our kids and we could look at what they need, what the challenges are. But when it comes to like social situations, we can't really. We could advise them, but it's up to them to make those choices and try to forge those friendships. And as a principal, really looking at building community amongst the students in the individual classrooms, so they know each other, so they could support each other, so they could understand who they are individually and not just another kid in class. So maybe those friendships can begin to bud and grow. But that was impactful. Just a simple stated, "I hope she makes a friend."
Love that. Thanks, Rob. Anyone else? Their hopes for the 24-25 year? Monique, you got nothing? I'll put you on the spot.
Can you hear me? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay. So I'll just say that I just transitioned and officially resigned from the DOE and took a full-time position with DC 37 over the summer. So I'm looking forward to learning more in my role as a council rep, continuing to represent District 25 and working with all of you. Yeah, I'm just really excited about this year and what my role is going to look like as a full-time council rep for DC 37.
Yay, Monique, congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats, that's awesome. So are you still serving in, I'm not sure what that means for you in terms of how that adjusts your role or not, but what does that mean for you now?
Yeah, so basically I was on a paid leave of absence representing the local 372, which is under DC 37, but the local 372 represents all schools division. So everyone who works in the schools, from parent coordinators to school foods, to school crossing guards, to family workers, to school aides, all of them, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm actually working for the union itself, DC 37.
Okay,
So it's a
great.
step up. Yes. Thank
Congrats.
you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and listen, for me, my one of my charges, and certainly in this role, but in general is, and I see, Eden put this space of confidence. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that too, because some of our kids talked about, some of our parents also mentioned confidence quite a bit. Is that we're doing all the things that this idea of growing as one community really talks about. Whether it's through building relationships, building that confidence, building our ability to be build students of strong character. And then on top of that, making sure that they all have built the skills enough to be really strong readers, writers, mathematicians. So it's all of that whole idea of building strong foundations, really, really pushing for that space for all of our kids. That's really what one of my hopes is this year, is that we continue to grow as a community, but one that's really focused on building relationships and learning what it is to be really just a good person. On top of the academics, I just think it's just so important, especially today. Every day you turn on the news, every day you see something that's out there in the public eye. It tends to be something that's negative. And I think it's our charge, certainly as a district team, to really continue to promote the importance of being positive around others and being kind to one another. So, aside from the academics, that's something I'm going to really be emphasizing myself as the year goes on. So, and I'm super excited that I get to do that with all of you. So one of the things that I would like to get started with, before we get into the full agenda, is just to talk about some district team norms as we go forward as a collective group. What you see here is one that is part of what our own district team has developed. And I'd love for us to kind of go through this really quickly, individually, to identify some of the things that you feel, yes, this should be part of our team norms, or there should be other things that we include in our norms as a district leadership team to come to an agreement on, so that we're consistently thinking about this work where everyone has that opportunity to voice their opinions, their thoughts, their recommendations, and that we're all doing this and we're on the same page with it. So just take a moment, reflect on the norms that are currently listed there, and things that you believe we should add on to, subtract. Not to go back to the math reference, Rachel, but let's think about where we could organize so that we're all on the same page. Any comments? Anything that you particularly think that, yes, these should be part of our minutes, things that you say no, shouldn't really be part of our minutes, things that you feel like, maybe our norms, excuse me, that we should or should not have moving forward? And for the sake of the space of turn taking, I'm just gonna kind of go through this in the space of a round so that everyone has an opportunity to share. And Rob, you're at the top of my screen, so I'm gonna start with you, if that's all right. Anything from here that you believe should stay, should be removed? We in agreement with all of them that are there?
Yeah, Mike, I hate to just say that it's great, but it's very straightforward. It's something that you know, I'm on a lot of teams around town, so this seems to be pretty standard. I like the non-closure situation that we could say we'll look for a solution, but maybe it's not today. That's something I don't see in a lot of on a lot of norms, and everything else seems pretty good to me.
Thank you, Rob. Rachel, anything that you see there that we should add or adjust?
I agree with Rob. I have nothing new to add according to number 4.
Love it. Monique, anything else?
Well, I have to say that I think that we've already done it. I mean, I've been on the DLT with everyone for about a year. And so I think most of these are already done. We're a pretty respectful group. We honor each other's opinions. Some of us, like myself, I'll admit, might go on a little too long. But yeah, but I do very much agree. Even the union, we always say number one person speaks at a time. We always say one voice, right? So yes.
Awesome.
you.
Thank you, Monique. Eduardo. Oh, you got something funky going on there with the.
Yeah,
There you go.
technical difficulties. Yeah, no, I agree with everything. It's been working for us for a year now, so I say keep it as is.
Awesome. Thanks, Eduardo. And Eden.
Sorry, I couldn't get to the unmute button. I have nothing else to add. I mean, coming from SLT also, I think these are pretty standard norms that make sense and should be easy to follow.
Cool.
Everyone.
Thank you. And Gus, anything else?
Looks perfect to me.
Okay, cool. All right, so we are good on our norms. I do want us to make sure that we can take a moment as well to look at our bylaws. So let me just get those queued up. If you haven't had a chance to look at them yet, I know that I shared in the past session in August, as well as in the lead into today. But if you haven't had a chance to review them, I will post them up for everyone to take a quick look at. And if there's anything that needs to be amended, we can do so as a DLT. Just open them up. Okay. And these were revised once in addition, or came to a consensus on after the 2018. I must have pulled the one that was not highlighted, but nothing had changed since then.
After today's review process, Mike, put the review date at the top.
Yeah, of course.
In reference to the highlighted section of the schedule of meetings, is that going to be updated to reflect the remote meeting process?
Hi, Rachel. Yeah, I think that's something that we have to review together. I think part of what I would love for us to discuss is if they're all going to be Zoom, or do we want to have a space where we can meet together and get it in there, and we could always revisit it again after that and make adjustments if we need to. Past practice was those meetings would always be held here. Since COVID, that has since changed and never kind of went back. But that's something we can chat about now, but I think it's an important one. Thank you for that, Rachel.
I did enjoy our meeting, our last meeting of last year in person. I think it's a good thing to do periodically. While I do appreciate the convenience of the Zoom, I think maybe once or twice, or however often everyone can accommodate, meeting in person is definitely a positive thing to help keep everyone engaged. And
Yeah, I love that feedback. So other than the space of talking about the meeting meeting times, does anyone have anything else there that you saw that we need to revisit?
You have to update the superintendent
Oh,
and
yeah, of course.
the
Yeah.
other signatures.
Yep. So just to throw out there, maybe perhaps we can do a December and June in-person one, just to kind of as a means of getting together before the break of the new year, and then one towards the end to kind of sum everything up and how we did as a DLT for the year. Right, so we can make that amendment. We'll put that in the bylaws, make that adjustment. Anyone opposed to that? Are we in consensus on December and June meetings? So Rob gave the agree, a bunch of nodding heads. Monique, you good with that? Yeah? Okay. So we'll make an amendment to the bylaws, just indicating that we'll continue to meet via Zoom, with the exception to the December and June meetings. But same time, same thing, will be twice for the second Monday every month. We will share the list of all of the calendar dates with you guys today too, so that we make sure that we are all we're all good to go. Okay, cool. So
And
we'll
Mike,
make it.
Louis,
Yeah, go ahead, Gus.
yeah, Louis, if you can send me the updated bylaws, I have to put them into the central database for iPlan.
You got it, Gus. Okay. All right, moving right along. So today I'm going to just give you a couple of things with celebrations that were shared. I want to share with you some of the hopes that were shared with us as a district community. We did the norms, went a little bit of reverse order. I'm going to talk to you about district goals. Some of the DLT language access recommendations that were developed last year as a DLT. I want to put them, kind of get those set in stone as a group so that we can share with all of our principals and school leadership teams that we want to hold those language access, that kind of the self-assessment and share of the the SLT survey to all of our parents, just to make sure that we're doing a good job with language access. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about subcommittees that we want to continue or maybe add to this school year to support our district leadership team work. So this year, we got off to a really nice start. Our schools are in a really good place to begin the year. Kids were happy to come back. In large part, some of our middle schoolers did have that face on, like I still want to be sleeping. But in large part, our kids were happy to be back in the buildings. Our schools did a nice job in terms of getting kids back. You see who had an ice cream truck, who had popsicles in the park, who had a DJ out in front of their building, getting kids really excited about coming back in with music. So each of our schools did something a little bit unique for them to get not only the kids, but the community excited about being back in school. So big shout out to all of them. This top one is one that Rob is referencing earlier about, I hope my son will mature and take pride in his schoolwork in 5th grade. And I hope my daughter survives her first day of 6th grade with her ADHD. I hope she makes a friend. And that one to me was pulled out of that survey for a reason. I think that's something that we all have to just be reflective on, and making sure that our kids feel comfortable every single day that they come into school. What I did see a lot of was this space where parents were indicating this idea of confidence, making sure that our kids are, feeling confident as learners. I think it's so important. This one from a student, he wants to be able to study hard, and he hopes that his classmates and teachers are happy every day. That's from an elementary schooler. So I think it's important, especially as we go back into our own spaces and our own roles, that we are connecting with people and reminding them of the hopes that we have moving forward. Another parent who's new to the district, she's hoping that our schools connect with our kids where they feel comfortable, where the kids grow in confidence and keep them curious all year round. They love that. Another parent where this word confidence coming out, confidence and linked to the idea of being polite to others. So really important stuff. I think that we are, as a district leadership team, something that I would love for us to really reflect on and see how we can kind of build through that as the year goes on. This I'm really excited about. We have over 400 parents now that have signed up for the adult ESL/GED program that we're offering through District 79. Really, well attended in terms of registration. This is not just people that expressed interest. We had over 800 people express interest, but we did have over 400 that registered. So it's one thing to have people that are interested. It's another that from that space of interest to actually go down, get registered and in class. So it's 3 evening and 1 Saturday class that have been developed. And that's when there were 200 people. They have extended the number of classes since then to open it up and support our folks that are 21 years and older in district to engage in this work. So I'm really excited about this, and want to continue that work moving forward across our schools. Just so that everyone knows, we are going to be doing a lot of different district-wide events this year, as we did last year. There will be a number of math events that are offered by our math team, which is a team of one. There's Beth. She is on the call right now, but Miss Eaton's going to be organizing for family nights, organizing supports in terms of algebra readiness at home. Really important stuff for our families and for us as a DLT to be aware of. We're also going to be offering for our early childhood families workshops on Acadience, so that they know what that data is that's coming back for them as a parent and how that's supported. So our AIS coordinators are going to be supporting that. We have iReady that's going to be providing iReady training for families at the end of every diagnostic assessment window, so that families have a clear understanding as to how to know what the data says, and more importantly, how do I help at home? So I'm excited about that. Also, we will continue with our special education workshops for families. Really pumped about that. And, more to follow as we hear feedback from our community. So really excited about that moving forward as a district community. Priorities for this year. These are things that we're looking to grow in as a district. These are all aligned with Chancellor's priorities. Priority 1, that all students learn to read well. Our focus this year is going to be on the strategic use of decodable text to build foundational reading skills. This is something that all of our building leaders are aware of here in the district, with the goal of improving by a minimum of 5% for all students and 10% for our Hispanic, Black, SWD, and L learners. And the reason we keep this broad, everyone, just to remind you all, is that all of our schools have varying populations. They're not all the same. So it's intended to give our schools an entry point for what subgroups in their building need the most attention. So each of our schools will be identifying 1 or maybe 2 of these subgroups to grow practice in their buildings and improvement in their buildings. What we have seen is that our reading proficiency in our earlier grades is improving. We do attribute that to the implementation of Hegarty and Foundations, which we're going to continue as a district community, and adding this idea of practice. So Foundations gives kids the skills, allows our teachers to teach the skills. But what we did find was there was not enough time for our kids to practice after they learn those skills. So we're building in that space, that time and space for our kids to engage in decodable text as the year goes on. Priority 2, all students are physically and emotionally safe. We're going to continue our work on Mind Up. It is our social emotional learning program across the district. I was fortunate this weekend, UFT worked with the Common Point YMCA, and they engaged in a community event where it was all about mental health and mental wellness. Goldie Hawn was there to actually present, and yes, that Goldie Hawn, the one that's in the movie, she created what's called the Goldie Hawn Foundation, and it's dedicated to supporting mental health across the country. And for us, we're utilizing her program, which is Mind Up, in our schools. And the one space for me that's really important with this is that our kids in our middle school in particular have indicated that they don't believe they have respect for one another. And that to me is problematic in the space of how we making sure that our kids build relationships. So there's a survey question where kids are surveyed about that very idea of being respectful to one another. And our middle schoolers indicate upwards 30% across the district indicate that they don't feel their peers have that respect for one another. So between Mind Up and the idea of these action projects, we really want the kids to be able to see that data and then work with one another to make decisions on how we're going to help ourselves in our schools, certainly with teacher support, but really take a hold of what action can they take to really build strong relationships with their peers in the building. So we'll be working with our building leaders on that to help support relationship building across the district. Priority 3, all students will be provided with a high quality academic experience. Again, focus on reading. This year, it's going to be a real big focus on explicit instruction. And for all of you to kind of take a look at this, and I'll open it widely for you to see. Anita Archer is renowned for her work on explicit instruction. We're going to be paying attention to her approach. And there's not a lot here that is overly different from what good practice is, but it does call out the importance of a few things that we're going to be paying attention to, including the explicit modeling of instruction for what the kids need to learn through these step-by-step demonstrations, and provided with guided and supported practice and independent practice. We want our kids to be able to, once they've learned, to be able to get right in and practice their skills. So Anita Archer is going to be one of the researchers that we are going to be connecting to most inside of our work, with the goal of improving outcomes for our learners. Now, question as to why, and this data is linked here for all of you, is inside of our, see, I retitled that for our CEC meeting, but because priority 3 Last year, we did not meet our expectations within our goals. And it's something that we do need to make sure that we're connecting with in order to support improved outcomes. So last year, we did see a slide. We slid by 4.2%. In reading, we went from 62, over 62% to just under 59% as a district community. New York City went down by 2.8 as a city overall. Our district declined by a little bit more than that. And we are like that of some other districts across the city that had high performance like us as well. The grade levels where we saw the most significant change was in grade 3 and in grade 8. Those are the two grades that demonstrated the least amount of progress, comparatively speaking, to past years. Grade 3 is probably the grade level that I'm most concerned about, simply because the starting place was different as compared to past years. So we declined by about 8% from year over year. Now, these are different children. They're not the same children that took it one year to the next. But we did decline by 8% year over year for our third graders. And, you know, there are things that we are digging into when it comes to that, including our iReady data and New York State assessment data, to give a look at what were the standards that we see our children struggling with. How are those questions kind of aligned to what it is that we're doing inside of curriculum? But needless to say, these are areas that we have more work to do and dig into. Now, some have also reflected on the fact that these would have been our pre-kindergarten children during the COVID era, as well as our kindergartners that were then or are now our fourth graders and now current fifth graders, and potential impacts of that as well. I always look at these things as our current reality. With all of those things being as they are, our current reality indicates that we have to work differently to support the kids that are in our classrooms. For our Black learners in District 25, we declined by 2%, comparatively speaking, to the 4.2 for all students. Most significant changes, again, were in grades 3 and 8. Grade 7 demonstrated progress across each of our subgroups, which was consistent across all of our schools. Grade 7 saw improvement in our middle schools, unlike that of the other grade levels. Our Hispanic learners in the district regressed by 6.7% from the previous year. This subgroup had the highest change in District 25, most significant in grades 3, 4, and 8. We did have last year a significant number of entering and emerging English language learners that were part of this assessment last year as a contributing force, but significant that it was higher than our district average reduction, which was 4.2, 6.7 for our Hispanic learners in the district. Our Asian learners saw a 2% decline. Again, grades 3, 4, and 8 were our grade levels where we saw the greatest reduction. Grade 7 demonstrated improvement, comparatively speaking. Our white learners saw a reduction of 3.7%. Grades 3, 4, and 8, again, were the grade levels where we saw the most significant decline. And unlike other subgroups, grade 6 was the grade that showed the most demonstrated improvement, comparatively speaking. And our students with disabilities declined by 2.8%. This was aligned with citywide averages. Grade 4 and 8 saw the most significant decline, and grade 7 saw improvement, comparatively speaking, to other grade levels. Now, that was just a quick snapshot, but let's just come back together for a moment. Any questions that it raises for you in terms of the priority and the actual data that I just shared? So I see Rachel put in the chat, is it possible that learning the new HMH program could have impacted the reading scores? Answer to that is yes, it could have. You know, any new implementation can come with it, what's called an implementation dip, as a result of learning the new program. So it can't be ruled out. I think there are a number of variables certainly at play when we see any kind of you know, of impact to scores across not just District 25, but across the city. Any other questions that it raises?
Just to piggyback on Rachel, I think that was something that you and I had talked about the other night also, that I think definitely a transition period of kids learning something new could have had some sort of impact, but what that full impact is like hard to really grasp.
Yeah, thank you, Eden. Any other comments?
Do we know, I know the one you mentioned with the students with disabilities was kind of on par with the rest of the city. How did the rest of the declines relate to citywide averages? Were they kind of on par, or was it a
So yeah, so we were above the norm. So the city declined overall by 2.8. We were 4.2. So 1.4% higher than the citywide average in terms of 1 year to the next decline. And the thing that was pretty consistent was grade 3. Grade 3 saw its biggest change, and for us, the reason why I call that grade out is because that's a starting point, right? That's where we want our kids to be, you know, at its highest level, because then we can build on it. Starting lower is not necessarily something that anyone wants to see, but it's where we are. So now it's how do we start making some of those adjustments, not only for our third graders that are in our classrooms now, but what are now our fourth graders that took the assessment last year that have shown you know, that space of needing some additional support. But yeah, so I think that was really the most significant grade level, Rachel. Grade 7 was consistent across as well. That grade 7 saw the biggest improvement, comparatively speaking. Grade 7 here went up by almost 4%. And when you keep all of those things together, it averages back out to that 4.2 that we were down.
I could also mention, Mike, I mean, just we're looking at like, I guess soft data. That third grade, and I know this because my son was in third grade last year as well, was the pre-K that lost half a year during the pandemic and then came back hybrid for kindergarten. I remember as a school, we were doing foundations via remote, and they definitely had, that cohort had a less than an ideal start. And I've been following them through kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And we've been doing everything we can to get them to close that gap. But they definitely had challenges, unlike other students in our school, as far as their educational experience.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rob.
So, Dr. Mike, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Monique. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, because we all know there's an influx, of students coming from other countries and not speak, where English is not their first language, and they're playing catch up realistically, because depending on when they come into the school system, they're starting at that point where everybody else has already had the, has had the experience in September when school has started. So I don't know how, realistically those students can ever really catch up coming in different times during the school year. And that will always somehow affect our numbers, right? But my question is there any way we can differentiate between the students who are coming into the country for the first time and maybe are, L's, they'd probably be L's, right? First time L's. And then the students that are currently in the school system that have started from day one. And then where that difference is. Because if it's our students that are starting since day one, then would it be possible that the fall off, as always is over the summer? You come back in September and you're kind of like reviewing everything to catch them up to speed, and then you got to start, then you have a starting point, right? So is there any way, and I don't know, schools might be doing it, is to supply students with some type of academic activity that they can do over the summer in preparation for September, or as a refresher. Here's something that you can do over the summer months. Reading, we used to do reading, we used to do book reports, you know, I know I'm dating myself, but bringing that stuff back in can give some type of support to those students so that when, I know they do go to school, but it's only a few hours, so just, and
Yeah,
not
so-
everybody can be part of that program.
Yeah, a couple of things, Monique, we kind of posted even from the district level, you know, some reading supports that parents can engage their children in. We did a couple of like reading events too that, you know, contest wise that kids were able to participate in from the district perspective. But a couple things. So our L learners, they don't test until they're here for a year, over a year. So a kid that comes in today would not take the ELA assessment at the end of the year. But it is an impact. It is an impact. You know, research says 3 to 5 years. You know, and depending on what you read, 5 to 7. You know, for someone to become proficient in the English language. So it does impact. There's no doubt about it. And you know, our L's that were once L's that were in the district tend to perform at a better rate than children that are English speaking right from the get-go. You know, but as you know, Monique, in a school that you used to work in, it was like you know, the ongoing process of here comes an L becomes proficient, and after that comes another L that needs some of that support. So it is that, there's no doubt about it, is that ongoing process. Within priority 3.2, we are really focused on standalone time. Which is, for everyone who does not know this, our L's that are entering and emerging receive what they call standalone instruction for 4 periods, where they're able to learn really that basic language, from basic language to academic language, and how the English language works to help them get to a better space of proficiency. So we're going to be really attending to that quite a bit across the district this year. Especially in our upper grades. When our kids come to us in the upper grades, it's much more difficult for them, as they weren't built with the foundational skills in kindergarten, first and second grade. So we are using a program called Translate. It's a program made by Emily Phillips Galloway for our children in middle school. And we are working with all of our schools in grades, particularly for kids in grades 3, 4, and 5, in terms of just how we organizing our standalone instruction inside of our classroom. So Michelle from our team is working with our folks in that. But in short, Monique, yes, it is something that is impactful when we have children that are here for just over a year that do have to take the assessment. It is difficult for them, but it does give us information in terms of how we can support moving forward. But yeah, it's an important point.
I have another question. I
Yeah.
know with HMH, we're really relying on like the iReady assessments to kind of get like Lexile levels and all that stuff. Are they still doing any of the one-on-one reading with the teacher at some point? Like if there's somebody that looks like the levels could be really off on an assessment, are they then sitting down and doing that like old school reading, like one-on-one with the teacher to see where they're at?
So it's not always necessarily one-on-one, but they may have groups of 3, they might have groups of 4. They'll pull the kids for these small targeted small group instruction spaces. That's an expectation in our classrooms. So between small group and the idea of literacy centers is something that you'll see in our classrooms to help really build access. And you know, the one thing too, Eden, is that you'll see this idea of conferencing with kids, so that, you know, you're listening in and providing some of that additional support. So it's a variation of all of those elements to support kids as readers.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes some of them just click through in a rush and they'll just click on things just to get done sometimes. And then we might not get like a real reading of like, where are they at?
Yeah, so all schools also get data back when anytime there's a kid that rushes, we get rush flags. So we know if a kid went through it too quickly. So those follow-up conversations happen, with kids, and if necessary, they will, retest. If a child shows that they finished that assessment in 3 minutes, they'll go back and retest them. But that is something that has happened with kids, but it's certainly for the school to recognize all of the rush flags that come when a kid is assessed. And there's no one assessment. I mean, the diagnostic is intended to help us get an understanding of a kid, but it shouldn't stop there in any of our schools.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other thoughts about this reading goal? Okay. Going to talk a little bit about math now. Math, we did see improvement from year over year. Was a little bit of a different story. We still have a lot of work to do in mathematics, and something that I encourage any of you on DLT, if you're interested, Beth from our team has created space for a district math team. We are looking to unify our curriculum across schools so that everyone is using the same instructional tools like we did with HMH. So I know Beth has APs, principals, some parents that have already signed up. So if there's any of you that would be interested in doing that, part of their work of this team is to review the 3 curriculum resources that are accessible. One being iReady Mathematics, another one being Amplify Mathematics, and the last one being Illustrative Mathematics. For all of us to take a look at and make a really good decision together, which there'll be some varying viewpoints on this. So it will be something where we come to consensus on program based on feedback from teachers that are actually implementing it right now, those that are reviewing it, and the district team to make sure we make a really good choice for our district community. But needless to say, this year, one of the primary things that Beth is going to be working on with our teachers, and we'll kind of showcase during our district events, is the idea of math routines, the idea of making sure that our kids have an opportunity to discuss what the math is, as well as problem solving through routines, through protocols like the 3 reads strategy, to make sure that our kids can decipher what the questions are actually asking, what the quantities are that are present, and then coming up with an approach to solve. So math problems, I know that that many can at times be of the mindset that it's all algorithmic. But the issue today is that most of the problems that our kids see is not a standard algorithm that's in front of them. It's here's a big piece of text in the form of a word problem where kids have to navigate and try to figure it out. It's not the same type of scenario that maybe even perhaps we were accustomed to when we were in school. The amount of text that's present in some of the problems that our kids experience is pretty significant. So needless to say, we're going to be working on that as a community, using this data as the backdrop to that, just to give you guys a little bit of context. We did not meet our goals last year. We did get to a space where we did see improvement, but we did not reach our goals. So more work to be done in mathematics. Want to get us to a place where we're over 70% as a district community this year in math. So we do believe that getting our kids to a space where they're flexibly thinking about mathematics will help us get to that space, along with using really clear problem-solving strategies across our classrooms. We did grow. We see it was really 1.4%. I did say it was 1% increase in levels 3s and 4s. We did see a reduction in level 1s, which is important. The most significant change in performance was in grade 7, with nearly a 6% improvement. And like grade 3, like ELA, grade 3 saw a reduction in the number of students performing at levels 3 and 4, like ELA. So important that we recognize that. Our Black learners in district did improve by just under 3% in terms of levels 3s and 4s. Most significance was in grade 7, and also like ELA, grade 3 saw a reduction. Our Hispanic learners grew by 2.5%. Grade 7 saw again, similar patterns. Grade 7 saw the greatest increase. Grade 3 saw the greatest decrease, comparatively speaking, to previous years. Our Asian learners grew by 1.4% as a collective group. Grade 7, highest increase. Grade 8 saw the biggest decrease for our Asian learners in the district. Our white learners in District 25 grew by 1.5%. Most significant change for our white learners was in grade 5, unlike the other subgroups. Our students with disabilities grew by 0.8%, comparatively speaking. The most significant change was in grade 4, and grade 7. Grade 7 saw a 3.6% improvement as well. In terms of iReady mathematics and the Regents assessment, excuse me, this should be MAP assessment and the Regents, that's not correct. Regents math, sorry about that. Regents math assessment, we had 57% of our kids scored 80 or higher, and just under 90% of our kids passing the Regents last year. That was an increase of 8.5%. And 8.5% for our Hispanic learners, 10% for our Black learners. While we did see improvement overall in terms of the number of children passing, we don't want to just stay in that space of passing. We need to continue to work to make sure that our kids are in an 80% or above on that Regents assessment. 85 and above, even better, because that demonstrates mastery in our Regents coursework. We had over 1,300 children take the Regents, which is great. However, we do want to see improvement from that space. Only 3.3%, 3.4% rather, were below 55, which is a space that we do not want our children to be in. Obviously, we don't want them taking it and then scoring in that space for Regents assessments. But we have seen a little bit of improvement, not in the way that we want. We want our kids to be in that 80 to 80 plus range in mathematics. Do we have any questions about the math work? Okay, so chronic absenteeism, as you guys know, will continue to be an area that we focus on. The goal, like last year, is to improve by 4% from where we were the previous year. We did start off strong last year. And as we got to December, we did start to see a shift back in the other direction. So this year, we're going to be spending a lot of time connecting with our schools. We have 4 attendance teachers now that are under the district purview. In the past, they were not. They did support schools, but they were not under the district purview. So we have 4 attendance teachers working with us. We have an attendance coordinator. And the goal is that we're going to be really focused on schools that we're targeting with higher than average chronic absenteeism rates. Right now, our average chronic absenteeism rate as it ended last year was about 19%, which is really, really high. The 2 grade levels that we want to focus on the most are kindergarten and first grade. Kindergarten is more than 1 in 4 children is chronically absent, which I want to kind of emphasize that with everyone again, because we need to continue to talk about this as a DLT. More than 1 in 4 kindergartners was chronically out last year. More than 1 in 5 first graders was chronically out last year. So when we think about that, in terms of getting our kids able to read, it does have an impact. There's a 20% difference between kids that are chronically out and their reading capacity and those that are not chronically out. So we're going to continue to work with our case teams, really building on the work in terms of mentors, making sure that our kids have and our families have mentors. At the younger ages, it's really less about our children. It's more about our families. So it's important that we continue to pay attention to that. And Eden, sometimes it's hard, even when we call it, some families will indicate that their child is sick. And, we do not necessarily go beyond the space of that other than asking for doctor's notes. The reality is that does rest on our parents to make sure that we are certainly aware of any of those concerns. But having said that, it's about us making sure that we're connecting in layers of support, not in blame. The reality is lots of reasons why a child is absent. We don't want our kids in school sick, but we do want our kids in school when they can be. And it's up to us to help find out why they are absent. And there are some cases where children, just one that I hear a lot, my child's asthmatic, and some parents get really concerned about the asthma conditions of their children. But all of those things can be supported, in school, developing a plan with our nurses. So it is really, really super important that we are connecting as much as we possibly can. Holiday vacations are ones that too I see here, Eden, you noted, but that's not the entire picture. It's a handful of folks that may take advantage. We don't have this mass exodus of kids in our schools during the breaks. Do I think some do? Yes. Do I think it's the biggest part of the concern? Not necessarily. All of our schools do that outreach, and they take notes on why they're out. More often than not, it's because families are saying their kids are sick. But we have to do as good a job as we can connecting. Because pre-K is even worse. Pre-K is about 45% of our kids are chronically out in pre-K. Those are all the building block years. And don't get me wrong, our 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, those fingers always wind up making it into their mouths, touching this, touching that, and then before you know it, they're home, they're homesick. So there's a lot more to it than just our parents getting them in. It's also helping our kids understand, even at the youngest of ages, how do we make sure we're washing those hands and staying good and healthy every day. But more to follow on chronic absenteeism. We'll continue to do things across the district. All schools were charged with having an opening meeting with all of our families that are chronically out or had children that were chronically out last year, just to kind of be there as a layer of support and really promote the idea of being in building every day. So it's going to continue to be a point of emphasis for us at the district level. Now, in terms of progress monitoring, just so that everyone knows, am I still sharing? I don't think so. In terms of progress monitoring, 3 times a year, we use the Acadience assessment. So by November, all of us will see where we are in terms of early childhood reading. In terms of our students, we'll be administering an SEL survey 3 times per year. Included in that will be questions about relationships, so that we can get a picture from our kids as to whether or not relationship building is improving. Including action projects. The hope is that we have a couple of them at minimum during the year for our kids to engage in. This is primarily for our middle schoolers. We really want our middle schoolers to engage in those action projects as a district. iReady reading assessment 3 times per year. We will be using an explicit instruction tool just to kind of capture to see what patterns and trends are going on in our classrooms to support professional learning. iReady mathematics 3 times per year. We do have a math look for tool that Beth and us as a district team, when we pop into classrooms as well, just to make sure we're supporting math instruction, surfacing patterns and trends there as well. Parent survey. Oh, I missed the parent one. Parent goal is to increase this idea of parents learning about the progress of their children by 5%. We're at 86% as a district, where parents indicate that they're receiving information around the progress of their children. That's something we want to do better at. So we will be surveying parents around that as to whether or not they are receiving feedback around their child's performance. And we will be going on from there. In order to do a lot of this work, we have developed a data tool, which I will show you. I did share some of our representatives last week that I'm really super excited about. And this is due to the efforts of Mr. Seren. He's made this information really, really accessible to us as a district community. So all of the things that we're going to be looking at and for will be accessible on this page. Now, unfortunately, because of FERPA, I can't necessarily share this because it is associated with student names. So I can't share it, but in terms of like the graphs and the charts, those things I can make shareable to you. And we'll pull them during our meeting so that you have access. But basically what we're going to have is a one-stop shop for all of our reading information. So when we want to check to see how our kids are performing, we'll be able to do so for each of the areas that we're identifying. So how are our kids performing in phonics? How are they performing in terms of vocabulary? How are they performing in terms of comprehension? And this data tool is going to be accessible to us as a DLT throughout the year. So if there are things that are coming up for us when we're talking about progress monitoring throughout the year, here's the tool that we're going to be using in order to do that. We're also going to have in here, and this will be adjusted with new numbers, a little way for us to keep track of our district DCEP goals. How is it that we're approaching our expectations within the DCEP and the targets that we're setting for each of the subgroups that we've identified as a district community. So all of these will be in here with our expectations for current reality to where we want to be. So I'm really excited about that. We'll also be including our survey data in here so that we can look at that as a DLT as well, and keep us on track for meeting our goals during the school year. Included in that will be the space around parent survey so that we can see what our parents are saying in terms of meeting those expectations of access to data that says they know how their kids are doing in class. Is there anything else that I wanted to do with you? I think that's pretty much it for me. The last part for us today is just around SLT training. And this will be something that we come to a chat about. Last year, we held our training in January. The goal this year was to hold it in October. So we noted October 7th as being the day that we would hold our SLT training. I'm going to ask everyone just to take a moment of pause. This will be done twice during that day, one 4 to 6 and the other one 7 to 9. I put the layout of here. The presentations are going to have to change, but this was the layout of the sessions. I started with an introduction. Gus and Shirley Aubin were last year, but Shirley, we do not have a president's council president just yet, a high school president's council president yet. So if there's anyone else that wishes to do the SLT 101 with Gus, that would be great. Benchmarking CEP goals. This was me last year. Mr. Saren's going to assume that responsibility, sharing around benchmarking our CEP goals. Last year it was Mr. Marino and Wendy assumed this role of MTSS. And then Yelena, I believe, did this last year for us, but we'll check on who's going to share the SLT budget page. Now, is there anything else, Gus, that we should be including in here? I'm wondering if we should include something around getting entry into iPlan with all of their minutes and everything. Maybe we want to have a section on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can cover it in my section if you
Okay, cool.
want to
Yeah.
incorporate it.
That would be great. But these are the components. Is there anyone that would be interested in collaborating on any of these presentations for SLTs?
I could help wherever necessary. Whatever is
Awesome,
best.
Eden. Any of them in
No
particular
preference.
that
It
you'd be
doesn't matter. Doesn't
Okay.
matter. I mean, I could do with Gus if you want, because I've been on SLT now for years, so.
Awesome. So I will add you and you'll connect with Gus on that. That sounds great.
Perfect.
Terrific. Anyone else interested in collaborating on any of these? Mr. Marino, don't want to be presumptuous, but are you okay with doing the continuing the work around MTSS? Yeah. Rachel, any interest in any of these around benchmarking or MTSS in a collaboration?
I can do MTSS with Mr. Marino.
Terrific.
Wrong bullet.
Wrong bullet? Oh. Presentation slides and Rachel Maldonado. Thank you, Rachel.
Sure.
Mike, I'm gonna check with Central and see if they have any new slides for us.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Lamar?
Yeah, can I get a day or two to think about which one I'd want to work on and collaborate with, if that's all right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I'll let you know. I'll let you all know. Sure.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And so is everyone good with October 7th? Is there anyone that does not work for? Because if we're going to do that, then I'm going to have Marissa create flyers for us at the as a district community, and we can get them out today so that our families are aware. And then maybe we can do another check-in, just a brief check-in just on the slides to make sure that we're all comfortable. I don't know that they're going to change tremendously. I think the benchmarking tool will change a little bit. Gus, you'll check to see if there's anything different with yours. But if we can all just maybe perhaps come together one more time between now and then, that would be great. But if we can
Dr. Mike?
solidify, yeah.
I'm just checking my calendar. I actually have a conflict from 4 to 6. I have a Cardozo SLT meeting at that time. So I would have to only be able to, I would only be able to help with the 7 to 9 presentation.
Dr.
Yeah,
Mike, I'm looking at my schedule. We have our UFT, like our executive board downtown, from about 4:30 to 7 on the 7th.
Ooh, that's no good. Ooh, let's take a look at other dates. What about Thursday, the 10th?
I will be out of town for a work trip.
That doesn't work for me, Mike. We have a bunch of stuff going on here.
Okay. Let's see, Wednesday, the 16th?
That is our delegate assembly.
You're killing me, Lamar.
I'm sorry, but the 10th was good. I want credit. The 10th was wide open and free. I want credit for that.
What about any other Tuesdays?
Let's see.
Like the 8th or the 15th?
15th looks good on my end.
Anyone else? 15th?
15th is good.
All right, let's go 15th. That actually is
Sounds
good. It
good.
gives us another, it gives us an extra week.
The 15th is good for me too. Yes.
That's good. It gives us an extra week, and we have DLT on the 7th as a kind of that just little meeting space for before the SLT training. So we'll put down October 15th will be our SLT training. And we'll do one at 4 from 4 to 6 and one from 7 to 9. Does that work with everyone?
Sounds good.
Sounds good
Yes.
to me.
Okay, we'll get the flyers out today, and it's great because then the 7th will give us an opportunity to check in on each of the presentations, so we know we're all good and comfortable around what we're going to present on that day. I will send all of you the slide deck that we used last year so that everyone is familiar with what's there. And if there are things that we need to add or take away, we can do that. So we're ready for the 7th.
Quick question. The
Yeah.
15th, is it in person? with the
So-
parents?
So those are via Zoom. We did
Okay.
last year, we did it via Zoom,
That's fine.
okay? And the last thing on my agenda, and I know I spoke a lot today, guys, sorry. The last thing on my agenda is just recommendations for SLTs, and perhaps this can be added to our deck as well. Just a recommendation that all of our schools do a self-assessment using the language access rubric, just to make sure that they are aligned with communicating with our families. As you guys know, the number of L's is not decreasing, it's increasing here. So making sure that we have clear information around our own work in our schools, that we have language access for our families, all the better. So recommendation for all of our schools by the end of October to complete their own self-assessment in this way. And followed by, using this survey, the language access parent survey, to gather information. Now, just feedback from all of you, it does come in 10 other languages. Would it be best if I include in here each of the translated versions of it underneath the English, or should they be separate surveys? And I say that because it might get crowded inside of some of these boxes if we do that, if we include them all in one.
And I would make them separate.
Thank you for that, Rachel. Anyone else, comments? We can create 3 separate links. It's a little bit, more cumbersome to gather the information, but at least you know that families will have a clear understanding as to what they're completing.
I think
Can
the
you
separate
just
links
make-
are a great idea.
Can't you
Separate,
just
Monique?
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead,
No,
Rachel.
sorry. Well, can't you just make them separate sections within the same form without making separate links?
Yeah, I could do that.
So each one its own section, so they're still separated out, but it's just one link for the whole survey?
I think my only concern, it's not really a concern. I just have to make sure that the language in the title and in the comments is clear, that they know to continue to look down, look all the way to the second section. If you speak Chinese, go to section 2. If you speak Spanish, go to section 3 or whatever.
Right.
So that they don't open it as a parent of a that's with English as their maybe not even a second language, but if their primary language is Chinese and the first thing they see is English, it might be like, all right, I'm out. So that would be my only concern about that. The language that I put in there has got to be very clear.
Right. Because the only converse concern would be if you send out multiple links, then would they complete each
Which one
link?
did I pick? Yeah,
Right.
100%. Yeah, pluses and minuses to it, right?
Right.
Okay. So this I will organize then, and we'll get it out to our principals, so they can work with their SLTs in gathering some of that information. I think it's really, really important. During the summer, we did a couple of right to read events. And while we didn't get necessarily the huge attendance that we were looking for. We did have families there that spoke other languages. And I think having access to someone to translate was really beneficial. Ensuring that folks know what it is that's expected of their kids in a classroom goes a long way to especially our little ones, becoming the readers that we want them to become. So I will send all of that out to everyone for our next meeting. Now, does anyone have any ideas around subcommittees that they think that we should have as a DLT? Do we want to continue with the parent engagement and language access and continue to build on it and check in on it? Do we want any other kind of subcommittees connected to any of our goals? Anyone have any ideas? we can certainly table that for the next meeting. Just everyone think on it. Are there any subcommittees that you would feel passionate about? And we can bring it back together as a group and then start establishing them. Could be anywhere from, whole idea of building relationships and culture. It could be around any of our goals that we have. Could be around chronic absenteeism. It could be around language. Any of you that are interested in doing any of those, we can come back together during our next meeting with any recommendations that you have.
And
What
Dr.
about
Mike, just
students? Oh, go ahead, Eden.
sorry, Rachel. The only thing you mentioned culture. I think that that's something that's becoming a big topic in a lot of schools. I know even just my school personally, they sent out a survey that touched on what is your culture? What does your culture look like? What is it that you expect and what do you want your child to learn? So I think something like that might be beneficial to bring into at the district level, because I think a lot of schools are actually focusing in on that now.
Yep. Thank you for that, Eden.
I want to add on to that. I think a little, Dr. Mike, we do the family night, the District 25 family night that we started last year. And I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to see more parents and students involved. But with so many, it's really hard to get that word out. I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but I'm only one person that's doing it per se. So I'd like to see that grow. And somehow I feel like that goes from a cultural standpoint, building community, building capacity. And I don't know what that looks like, but I'd like to kind of explore that.
Love that. Thanks, Lamar.
And Dr. Mike, I'd like to actually piggyback off of what Lamar said. Maybe something that has to do with like community and health and wellness, and just bringing the community, because a lot of our schools do use community organizations within District 25. A lot of them are coming to us and want to offer, coming to the schools and want to offer programs and things as such. And maybe if we just build, like what Lamar said, build community by maybe fostering and bringing out all the opportunities that some of our families have, because as you know, like we are, especially downtown Flushing, we are a predominantly Asian community. And so I know when dealing with parents, some parents felt a little left out and felt that there wasn't really anything within that community for them or their children. So like, we have the Taekwondo, but what else is out there? Are there dance classes? So maybe these organizations might want to come to a large community event at one of the schools, and parents can come and get those resources, whether it's, tutoring programs or, obviously not everything is for free, but because we're in a difficult, economy right now, but I don't know if that's something you want to do, because I know for parent coordinators, our job is to bring the community together and bring resources to the families. So maybe we could do something like that, where we bring resources. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I think it's a good one that could become a really, really nice subcommittee work. How are we building community across the district? I think we have a bunch of ideas that we have, for us just in general here at the district level through some of the community events that we want to organize. But I think it's a great idea. I actually connected with UFT and MindUp. I told them I wanted to do one of those wellness days here. And they were actually all on board with helping create that. So, completely interested in building that work across our district for sure. So those of you interested in that one, I think that would be a great one to organize for our district for sure. Love that. So that concludes my portion. Gus, I'm going to turn it over to you for your section today.
Louis, should I try sharing my screen? Let's see.
What do you need up, Gus?
You should be good, Gus. You can share.
Yeah, you have
a
access.
couple of things. I think I got it. Let me begin with this one. Okay. And before I launch into the consolidated plan, I sent you a number of other attachments. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to remind everybody of certain dates. For example, the CEP for schools is due on this, October 25th. That's the deadline for all schools. All schools have received their feedback. They should be working on revisions of their CEPs with their SLTs. And the superintendent's date to certify and finalize those CEPs is December 6th. So October, the end of October for schools, the end of December for superintendents, and in between, there's ample time for any interaction between the district team and schools on any changes or adjustments that need to be made. The DCP deadline is, the completion deadline is still in December. Mike, did you receive any feedback yet from Central?
No, just the document that I mentioned to you, Gus.
All right. That deadline may get adjusted depending on when the feedback comes, because the district, it's my understanding, was supposed to receive feedback last week. And that did not take place. I'm not sure why. Then maybe they'll make some adjustment. But right now it's a December deadline. Also, we mentioned earlier the I-Plan entries that schools need to make. Central is sending out reports on schools that are incomplete on that. The last time I checked, we had numerous schools that had not put the information in. I've talked to the district team about it, and there's a parent piece having to do with Title I and PACS. So it's a new process, ladies and gentlemen, so that needs to be refined and added to. And as we discussed, it'll be part of our SLT training as well. I also attached to this meeting the activities calendars, suggested activities on a month-by-month basis for both SLTs and the DLT. So you have those. The schools should be aware of the suggested SLT activities. It just makes things easier for all of them. That's basically the other items that I have. My main item is the consolidated application, something that we do every single year at the beginning of the year because it's fiscal. What it relates to is all of the Title I and other supplementary programs that the DOE gets from the federal government and the state. And then the money goes to the schools. And we need to show the state that we've done this presentation and that all of our leadership teams citywide have been spoken to about it. The document itself is not available yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this PowerPoint, which gives an overview. The PowerPoint and the document table of contents, which I've sent you, and I'm going to go over that. But this is what it's about. This visual tells you, and you can look at this, you have all of these. It tells you where the money comes from. It comes from the federal government to the state, and then the LEA is the Department of Education, and then it goes to the schools. And there are a lot of different programs. It's part of the Every Student Succeeds Act on the federal level. And there are a lot of title programs. The way to understand it, there's a lot of technical terminology here and a lot of different programs, but they're all extra help programs. In other words, all of these funding sources are supplemental programs, in addition to the regular money that schools get. And they're designed to help support students and families in need in a variety of different ways. And I'm going to touch upon all of these different ways. And all of the money flows to the schools through the DOE, through documents called SAMs. see here on this side, the school allocation memorandum. And all of those, ladies and gentlemen, are publicly available to all of you. And the SAM gives the guidelines of who gets the money, what the purpose is. And at the bottom, usually, of the SAM, there's a grid that indicates how much money, if the school qualified, every school in the city of New York gets. And they're Excel spreadsheets. So you can check and see what amount of money every school in District 25 received if they qualified for that particular program. There's no secret here. Everything is extremely transparent. And the application of the consolidated plan also relates, see, it says funded programs here, to the strategic plan and the priorities of the chancellor, and also a document that I'm going to go over with you called the DCIP. That stands for District Comprehensive Improvement Plan. That's a separate document that the city sends to the state that explains how these funds are being used to improve schools, targeting especially schools in need of improvement. And then it relates to the DCEP. So your DCEP is aligned to both the consolidated plan and the DCIP. And every school has a Title I section to fill out where they explain what money they're getting, and every goal in every CEP explains the supplementary services that are being given. And there's an MTSS section in every CEP. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of alignment here. So I want you to understand the basic structure of the whole thing. So everything is aligned, and my purpose is to talk to you about this consolidated plan and then collect signatures, because this way we prove to the state that we've shared this is by collecting signatures. And because everything is remote now, what we do is we collect the signatures, and your signature does not indicate that you agree with everything in the plan, just that you've been talked to about it, basically. It's a consultation signature. So there's a new procedure for DocuSign, and you have this document. Those of you who have been on the DLT are familiar with DocuSign from the past. This is the document that you will fill in. And the document, it requires you to pick which constituency you're representing. And there's a drop down for doing that. What's a little different this year is that, other than clicking that you did it, review document, there's also a place at the very end that you completed it. It's in the corner of the document. If anybody has any difficulty in filling it out, and I'm told that it will not repeat like in the past. If you and it will, it's time sensitive, but not as time sensitive as in the past. So you're going to get an email from me after this meeting, asking you over the next couple of days to sign and choose your constituency, who you're representing. And we try to capture as wide a representation as possible in terms of DocuSign. Now, Louis, can you get the consolidated overview up? Because I don't see it at the bottom of my screen. So what I have to do is I have to close these. And I'm having a little, let me see if I can move this over. Yeah, I can move this over to the other side and do it this way. Hopefully, I can get the documents here.
What is the name of the file that
It's
you
called
shared?
the overview of the draft NYC application.
Overview, yeah.
It's a grid, right, overview.
Word document, right?
Yeah, can you throw it up? I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, stop sharing. I just got it.
Okay, great. I don't see it yet, Mike, Lewis.
I didn't put it up there.
Okay,
I got it. Just want to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. All right.
yeah, this is the one. If you can make it a little larger for people
I
to
will.
see, you can look at it at your leisure, folks. But basically, the document takes you through all of these title programs. Title I is usually the largest. That is the extra help program that gives supplementary funds that funds the programs to help the students in most academic need. And it's outlined in SAM 11. So you see here where it says SAM 11 in blue. If you, and you have these documents, if you click on to that blue part, it'll take you to SAM 11, and you see here the whole purpose of it. It tells you how the funds are decided. If you go all the way down to the bottom, if you could just scroll down to the bottom, Lewis, you'll see, and there's a lot of technical language. You see where it says Title I allocation per capita details. If you click on that,
Table number 2, right?
yeah, it'll give you all of the funds for all of the schools in the entire city of New York. And it tells you what they qualify for and how much money they're getting. And it also breaks out the parent 1% set aside that all of the PACs are talking about, and that should be part of the annual meeting, as all of these funds should be that will take place at the end of September or early October, or the date will come out from Central. They're discussing the exact date that annual meeting should be held. I think it might be held a little earlier. So if you go back to the grid for me, I'm not going to go through every single section, or else we'll be here, for another hour or so. The page numbers are the page numbers of the actual document. I don't have the actual document yet because it's being sent to the state. If you look at the second one, go to back to the top where we were. I told you about Title I. Just to give you an idea, the students in temporary housing, STH, schools that have, whether they're Title I or not, if they have that population, there's a per capita amount for students in temporary housing or students that have been displaced for whatever reason. And we talked about the migrants, for example, earlier. That funding also applies to them. And it's for things, there's a special website, and there's a per capita amount for every one of those students. And you can, the schools are familiar with this. They can help with school supplies, even clothing. There are a wide variety of the way the funds can be used to assist those students who qualify for those funds. The other kinds of funds are funds at the higher school level for students that have dropped out of school and come back. There are students for YABC programs at the high school level. There are two funding sources that are particularly relevant to District 25. One is you have a high number of L's in your schools. Any school that has 30 or more L's qualifies for what's called Title III, and there's a SAM for that. If they have 30 or more L's, you can click on that and see, and they get extra money to do a supplementary program, usually after school, for that population. And in the CEP, in I-Plan, there's a separate section for the plan for that funding for those MLL, the ELL students, the English language learners. And then there's a separate section for immigrant funds. So any school that gets an influx of immigrants gets extra funding to help cope with the immigrants as well. That's also part of Title III. And if the school gets that funding, it changes from year to year because the number of students that help in terms of a year qualifying change from year to year. So I sometimes get contacted by a principal and they say, Gus, I got this immigrant funds last year, but I didn't get it this year. Can you find out why? And I have to check with our senior grants officer. And when we look into it, it has to do with the number of students that are put into ATS. ATS, Automate the School System, is the primary system that all of the school information and student information goes into. And a lot of these funding sources are depend on that. Title I goes with the family income form, and the cutoff is 60%. So it's very important that schools be careful and make sure that families fill out those forms, because that's the from year to year, that's the form that's used to determine whether a school gets those Title I, those extra help funds. And as I indicated, you can see school by school what's being done with these funds by looking at iPlan and looking at their CEP. And the use of these funds should be part of the discussion in the SLT and part of those larger meetings, whether they're PAC or parent meetings. And I know your schools are excellent in doing this and sharing information in a collaborative way. So this document, ladies and gentlemen, is the document that the city sends to the state outlining the categories of all of these funds and in a general way what these funds are being used for in the city of New York. If you want to look at the specifics, you go to the SAM and you look at the CEP or the MLL plan for each individual school in iPlan. So every parent and everyone on this DLT and every school member can check and see where the funding is coming from, how much every school gets, what schools are doing with those funds. Now, I'm not going to go through every single section. As I said, it's a lengthy document. It usually runs over 100 pages. When I get it, we're not allowed to email it to folks because it goes back and forth. I used to be in charge of this for the city at one point, so I'm familiar with the process. It gets edited a number of times, and every unit in the city contributes to it because everybody has some responsibility for all of these different programs. So what we do is in October, I was told, I'm going to get a hard copy and I will leave it with the superintendent's office. And that's what is traditionally been done. And if any DLT member wants to look at it, they can arrange to come to the district office, look at the hard copy. If there are any comments or any suggestions, and I have gotten some in the past, and I've shared them with Central and they've made changes. So it's not something that's never happened before. People have looked at it. I had in another district a UFT representative who would routinely go through every line and give me input on it. It was one of her hallmarks and legacies, and I shared that with Central. So look for that. Please look for the DocuSign email that I'm going to send to you and do your best to get it signed, because we have to send citywide all of this information to them and show them that consultation has taken place with all the DLTs in the city. Any questions on anything I said, ladies and gentlemen? If not, thank you. And remember, you can look at all this stuff that I sent as attachments at your leisure. If you have any, follow-up questions, just email the district office. They will route that to me, and I will get back to you. The reason why, and this is the beginning of the year, we have some new people. I don't have DLT members email me directly. Is I have 5 DLTs. So if you multiply all of those members of the all of my schools, by the way, which are several hundred, can email me directly, the principals. So you can appreciate, if I had every DLT member email me directly, how many emails I would be dealing with. So that's why we have this process in place where DLT members contact the superintendent's office, and then I respond. Sometimes I can give you an answer right away. Sometimes I have to contact Central and get some additional clarification from them. Thank you again. This is, I think, my 21st or 22nd year supporting District 25, and it's always an honor and a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks so much, Gus. Much appreciated for all the info and all the hard work that you continue to put in for our district community. So thanks so much. We're going to go through our constituents kind of updates right now. Just Eden had to hop off, but she did want me to share a couple of things. One, that they do have 2 vacancies on the CEC and a couple of resignations. So if you know anyone that would be interested, please connect with Eden so that they can get those vacancies filled. Next meeting date for them is on October 9th. There will be a special ed presentation from our district as part of their bylaws with the CEC. So that will be happening on October 9th. And Chancellor's Town Hall, the Chancellor will be coming to visit District 25 again this year. And that will be on, I don't know if it's completely official yet, but 11/18, November 18th at 185 is what it's looking like right now. So you can put like a tentative marker on there, but I'm not sure if that was completely official yet, but just so that everyone knows, 11/18 looks like the dates for the Chancellor's Town Hall. That was from the CEC. We'll quickly go through.
Mike, did you email Mr. Leong yet or no?
I did, yes.
Okay, good. Cool.
Yeah, he's good. So quickly going through our other groups, high school superintendent report. Eduardo, you have something from high schools?
Yes, I do have some updates. Let me just quickly share my screen. On screen 2. Share. Okay. Good morning, everyone. So greetings from our superintendent and district leadership and our district team. We have 5 new members joining our team. I will be updating the website so that when you ride the elevator, you can see who they are and become familiarized with them and their role within our Queens North district. We have new leadership at Gotham Tech High School. Lisa Elkavi is principal interacting at Gotham Tech. So these were our outcomes from our goals last year. Again, the chronic absenteeism is a problem in our schools in Queens North. We have currently 9 attendance teachers join our attendance manager, Mr. Marty, to try to correct this issue with chronic absenteeism. Now, these are our goals for 24-25. Increase the graduation rate of ELF and students with IEPs by 10%. Increase the pass rate of ELF and students with IEP on the core subjects exams by 10%. Reduce the number of levels of 4 and 5 incidents by 20%, and repeat suspension rates by 15%. So on August 29th, we had our district day. We welcomed 155 new teachers, and this event was held at Long Island City High School. where teachers were welcomed and they were given advice by district leadership, fellow teachers, parents, and students. I also want to share our summer graduation, which was also held at Long Island City High School. Let me see if I can pull up that slide here. Oh, so that was, am I still sharing my screen? Can you see
Yep.
it?
Yep, we
Okay,
can see it.
so this was graduation was also held at Long Island City High School, and we partner with 2 other districts. And this is something that I pride myself as a family support coordinator. I was the official photographer for the graduation, and this is something I like to give families at the end of the school year. Kind of frames my day celebrating student achievement, and you can see how happy they are receiving their high school diplomas from our superintendent. And here's yours truly, Eduardo Duarte, also photographer for the district. And that's all for my updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. Appreciate it. Certainly also see some of the connections between the things high schools are talking about, that whole relationship building and reducing of infractions, the space of improving Regents outcomes, space of improving chronic absenteeism. So you see the alignment between some of the high school expectations and our district. So thank you for that, Eduardo. Mr. Marino, anything from CSA?
Yeah, just echoing what you said before about the adult ESL classes at 237. We're really excited about that. We also want to celebrate Principal Friedman and AP Strong for organizing that. It's widely popular, and we're encouraging other principals to share it in our area so that it could become even more utilized. We have a few new APs and I believe 1 new principal in D25. We look forward to those appointments and going through that C30 process. And the reason we have a new principal is because we are so proud of our colleague Umit, who is now the deputy superintendent, and we wish him luck and support. We're sorry to see him leave our community, but we celebrate him and look forward to working with him in his new role. And that's all for me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rob. Yes, and we do have 5 new additions, excuse me, in terms of APs, and the 1 new principal. So super excited that they're a part of our district team. Looking forward to working with them. Lamar, anything from U of T?
Sorry, nothing from U of T today, no.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Lamar.
No problem.
Monique, anything DC 37?
Yes, we're excited that this year is DC 37's 80th anniversary. Our building, 125 Barclay, is finished being renovated, so we're looking forward to a grand reopening of 125 Barclay Street. Office of Food and Nutrition has posted some hiring dates. I emailed the flyers to Louis. They're translated in 3 different languages, Spanish and Chinese. So there'll be one in September, October, November, and December. You don't need me to say the dates, right? Do you want me to say the dates?
If they're are they in the fly? It's up to you, Monique.
They're in the flyer. I don't want to take up too much time. I know people have to go. There's one in September 28th. There's one October 19th. There's one November 16th and one December 14th. So please share that with your schools, school communities. I know our families are, some of them might be looking for work. So that's a great opportunity for them. I'm continuing with site meetings. I just visited PS 164 last week on Friday. And then we are planning a new employee orientation on November 7th. That's a tentative date where we invite any new hires to come and gather information about DC 37, and we're there to answer any questions that they have. And I believe that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Monique. Rachel, anything from President's Council?
Yes, we have our first meeting of the year tonight. We will be having elections because we were not able to fill our recording secretary position at the end of last school year. So we will be having elections for that as well as your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. And guys, if you know anyone that's interested, I know that they're always eager. If you know any of those PTA presidents that are there, give them that little gentle nudge so Rachel can get her her whole team together. I know we do not have a president for President's Council at the high school level yet. Eduardo, do you know anything else on that?
I don't, but as soon as I get an update, I will notify everyone.
Okay, perfect. And I know that we have our DPAC president as well. I don't see that he was able to join, but we'll be doing some outreach to him as well to make sure that we have full representation on the team. Is there anyone have any new business, anything else that we need to talk about before we come to consensus to close today?
I do, Mike, very
Yeah.
quickly. On the 28th of September, which
yes,
is a
thank you.
Saturday, there is a citywide training, SLT and DLT training. When I sent it out and put it on your calendar, it was supposed to take place at Stuyvesant High School, but now they've changed it. So please note the change in the in the minutes and in the information going out to the district and the wider community, that it is taking place at Brooklyn Tech High School, not at Stuyvesant, on Saturday, the 28th. And it's an all-day training. There's a lot of different resources that are going to be shared, both for SLTs and DLT members.
Yeah, and I strongly encourage anyone that can make it to please do your best to. Would love to have representation there. I will be there. But it would be great if I had if our DLT was present for the session. I do know that the weekends are really great ways to kind of recharge and all that. So I do understand, but if you could, I would love it for you guys to be there. I will certainly be on that Saturday morning. Any other new business? But thank you for sharing that, Gus. I had Lewis reminded me earlier, and I was going to leave and would have forgotten. Okay, guys, do we have consensus to bring this meeting to a close? Got a thumbs up. Rachel, Rob, Monique, we're good? Yes. Eduardo, give me the little head bob, an active head bob, and a thumbs up. Awesome. And Lamar, your hand is up. I'm going to presume that means you're good. So guys, everyone have a great day. Our next meeting is October 7th. I'm going to follow up with this meeting to send out the presentations from last year that everyone participated in. Monique, if there's one that you'd like to hop on with, please let me know.
Okay.
And we'll organize all of that so that everyone's good and ready to present on our SLT training. I will have Marissa create those documents to the flyers to send out for the 15th so that everyone for our SLTs are ready. Other than that, guys, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of it, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Dr. Mike,
Thanks,
do you have a
everyone.
minute? Do you have a minute
Yeah.
or two, or can I call you?
Yeah.
What do you
I'll stay on.
prefer? Oh, stay on. Okay.
Yeah, just stay on. That way we don't
Okay.
have to worry about reconnecting on the
Thank
phone.
you.